तांदूळजेकर सर. तांदूळजेकर सर. हॅलो. अनम्यूट करा सर. तांदूळजेकर सर अनम्यूट करा.
जाऊ द्या मग घ्यायचं नाही नाही
हॅलो.
हा सर.
येतो ना सर आवाज?
कॅमेरा कोणाचा तरी एक जणांचा चालू करा.
त्यानं बोललेला आवाज काय
सर बरोबर आहे मॅडम. शूटिंग करतायत. कॅमेरा चेंज करा ना. त्यांची स्क्रीन जी आहे ना.
ठीक आहे सर. बरोबर मॅडमचा पोस्ट केला मी.
कॅमेरा चेंज करा. बरोबर आहे मॅडम. शूटिंग करतायत. त्यांचा स्क्रीन जो आहे ना तो शेअर करा.
केला सर. केला सर.
पहा बरं.
दिसतंय सर. व्यवस्थित दिसतंय सर.
हा ठीक आहे. दिसायले. नाही सिरियस करणे नाही. शेअर केलं त्यांना बोला ना सर. आली सर.
हा सर.
स्क्रीन शेअर करा ना.
शेअर केली सर स्क्रीन.
बरोबर मॅडमची करायची. बरोबर मॅडम.
स्क्रीन शेअर केली. मला दिसत आहे तिथं 2 फोटो.
बरोबर मॅडमची स्क्रीन जी आहे. त्यांनाच माहिती आहे. होस्ट अजय को होस्ट वसंत गायकवाड. गायकवाड सरांना बोलवायचं सर इकडे. अगोदर म्यूट करणं गरजेचं आहे. बंद करा.
आली सर.
सर बोला.
हा, इकडली स्क्रीन शेअर करा माझी.
बोला ना कोणी
आज नेताजी सुभाषचंद्र बोस यांची 125वी जयंती आहे. त्यानिमित्त मी आदरणीय प्राचार्य डॉक्टर वनमाला गुणरे मॅडमला विनंती करतो की त्यांनी नेताजी सुभाषचंद्र बोस यांच्या प्रतिमेला पुष्पहार घालून मॅडम बरोबर मॅडम या. आज नेताजी सुभाषचंद्र बोस यांची जयंती साजरी करत आहोत आणि लगेचच आपल्या रिसर्च मेथोडॉलॉजी इन सोशल सायन्सेसच्या वेबिनारला सुरुवात करणार आहोत. या कार्यक्रमाला डॉक्टर अहिल्या बरोरे, अनंत मरकाळे, तांदुळजेकर सर झाल्याच्या नंतर पिके जाधव सर, तांदळे सर आणि सर्व स्टाफ उपस्थित आहे. Today our webinar will be start within few minutes. I think all the participants, they may be ready to listen our webinar and they will take enjoy with this research methodology in social sciences. Now may I request to Dr. Tanduljekar sir, please. Please share your view on the introductory speech.
Good morning. Welcome to all of you friends. Today's resource person, Professor Dr. Suja Shakis, Sir, Department of Political Science, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Maratha University, Aurangabad, and Professor S. Tekki Sir, Research Scholar, Faculty Member of Commerce and Management Studies. Today's Yashwantrao Chauhan College, Ambazogai, Research Center of Economics and Political Science organized one-day national webinar for researcher and students. It is entitled is Research Methodology in Social Sciences. Such type of academic and educational research activities have been organized for students and academicians. It is my pleasure to say that our respected Honorable Sri Prakash Dada Solanke, MLA, MSc Mandal Aurangabad, Honorable Satishji Chauhan Sahib, MLC Secretary, MS Mandal Aurangabad, Honorable Sri Rameshji Adaskar Sahib, Chairman, Amba Sugar Factory and Member CDC, Yashwantrao Chauhan College Ambejogai, and Honorable Principal Dr. Vanmala Gundre Madam always encourage us to organize such activities. Dear research scholars, today's webinar, Research Methodology in Social Sciences, offers very important and friends, today we have two great and intellectual resource person, and they will deliver lecture. In the first session, Professor Suja Shakil sir, Head Department of Political Science, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad, and his topic is formulation of research problems. And the second resource person for the second session is Dr. S. Tekki, faculty member and management studies, AN University, Andhra Pradesh. Research Center Director and Chief Organizer, Principal Dr. Vanmala Gundre Madam, Coordinator, Department of Economics and Political Science, Research Center, Yashwantrao Chauhan College, Ambejogai. Our Vice Principal, Dr. Ramesh Ji Sinde sir, my colleagues, Dr. Dinkar Tandle sir, Dr. Rajpanke sir, Bise sir, Dr. Markale sir, Dr. Vasant Gaikwad, my office superintendent, Mr. Satish Erande sir, technical faculty member, Mr. Ali sir, and all my college team and participants. Once again, welcome to all of you. Thank you.
Shakir sir will be joined very shortly.
तुझा साकीब सर जॉईन झालेत पण.
May I request to Dr. Suja Shakir sir, please share your view in this regard.
Hello. Hello.
बोलिए सर.
Hello. आवाज आ रही है?
Yes sir, yes sir.
Is it clear?
Yes. क्लियर आवाज आ रही है सर बात.
Okay.
You are audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
May I request to Dr. Suja Shakir sir? He will speak on the topic of formulation of research problem, and he is very scholar and intellectual person in the field of research methodology, and so it is uh, very good opportunity to research scholars to listen Dr. Suja Shakir sir, who is from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad. Now, may I request to Shakir sir, please start your lecture.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to this session.
Sir, your voice is not clear, sir.
Now is it okay? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? ऑडियो क्लियर आहे का?
नहीं सर, आपकी आवाज बराबर नहीं आ रही सर, थोड़े आवाज बढ़ाने पड़ेगी, माइक थोड़ा सा नजदीक ले लो सर.
हेलो, अभी देखो. हेलो,
नहीं, कम आ रही है आवाज.
नहीं आ रही. अभी हेलो हेलो हेलो.
हाँ, आवाज आ रही है लेकिन बड़ी नहीं आ रही सर. कोई फैन बीन चालू है क्या वहाँ पे?
नहीं, एक मिनट में देखता हूँ. हेलो, अभी आ रही है?
हाँ, आ रही है सर.
इज इट क्लियर?
यस सर.
ओके ओके ओके. शुड आई स्टार्ट नाउ?
हाँ, स्टार्ट करो सर.
Okay, thank you. So this is an important question I thought on research methodology because there is some basic confusion regarding this, especially when the students start out for their research work, either PhD or MPhil or anything else related to research. The most important question that they face is how to go about it. I mean, how to do the research. Coincidentally, we have a very streamlined system of research in the universities and the colleges. But my personal experience is, when we start with this research thing, we do not get proper guidance. Most of the time, the supervisors do, of course, help us. But then the kind of help which is expected from these people is usually not forthcoming for various reasons. I won't go into those reasons, but when I was doing research as a student, I had also faced these problems which most of the students are now facing. I will tell you, most of my students. So I thought, why we should not discuss a topic that basically delves into what research is and how we should go about it. For me, research is not a very difficult issue. Of course, it's a very complex issue, but it's not very difficult and you can.
Sorry sir.
However, hello.
Your voice is not audible, sir. Some mistake is there. Very low. Your sound is very low, sir.
Please use headphone.
हेडफोन त्यांनी माहिती तर लावलाय पण ते काढून ठेवलंय.
हॅलो, आता कसं आहे? कॅन यू हिअर मी नाउ?
नाही सर, तरी पण तसाच आहे, पहिल्यासारखाच आहे.
तसंच आहे का?
सर एक बार फैन बंद करके देखते हैं क्या? थोड़ा सा दूसरा आवाज आ रहा है.
sir, is it okay now?
हाँ हाँ अब आ रहा है थोड़ा
Hello?
क्लियर.
Okay,
थोड़ा सा हाँ माइक नजदीक रखो सर.
okay, okay. अभी सुनाई दे रहा है सर?
हमिंग साउंड आ रहा है सर.
तो मैं काम करता हूँ, मैं मोबाइल पे शिफ्ट होता हूँ. ये मैं पीसी से बोल रहा था.
हाँ
I will do it. I'll shift to mobile. Okay, just a minute. Just give me a minute.
मला तर काही जायचं.
Hello. Hello.
हाँ बोलिए सर.
हाँ, वो मैं मोबाइल पे किया, देखो जरा मेरे को उसे एडमिट किए करो ना.
एडमिट किए सर आपको?
चेक करो एक बार, मैं मोबाइल से कर रहा हूँ.
क्या लगा?
वॉइस से जॉइन होगा.
हेलो.
सर माइक ऑन करो आपका मोबाइल का.
हाँ हाँ. ओके. माइक से मेरा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. जस्ट आई ट्राई वन.
हेडफोन ट्राई करो.
हेलो. हेलो.
हाँ, सर.
हाँ, आ रही है क्या आवाज?
नहीं सर, आप माइक मोबाइल से माइक ऑन करो ना. अभी जो ज्वाइन हुए ना नए डिवाइस से,
हाँ.
माइक
ओके.
ऑन. यस सर, मैं आपको अनम्यूट की रिक्वेस्ट भेजा. यस, अभी उससे हेडफोन ट्राई करो.
हेलो. इसमें आ रही है आवाज?
नहीं, सेम वैसा ही है.
क्लियर. जस्ट अ मिनट. हेलो. हेलो.
हाँ.
हाँ, अभी इज देयर एनी चेंज?
माइक चलता है.
हाँ सर, सेम वैसा ही हो रहा है.
अभी उससे इसमें आ रही है आवाज? जस्ट अ मिनट. हेलो. हेलो. कैन यू सी इट? हेलो. एक मिनट. हाँ.
हाँ सर.
त्यांचा म्यूट दिसायला ना.
ते दोन डिव्हाइस ने जॉइन झाले.
असं आहे का? हा.
हाँ. हेलो.
हाँ हेलो सर.
हेलो. हेलो.
हाँ सर, आवाज अच्छी है, आ रही है सर.
हाँ हाँ आ रही है सर आवाज.
हेलो.
यस सर.
हाँ यस सर आ रही है सर आवाज. हेलो सर. Hello. माझं केलं का चालू? Hello. There is a technical problem. Please wait. झालं का?
येते ना आपल्याला. माईक ऑन.
Hello. हाँ शाकिर सर. हाँ सर तुमचं माईक चालू आहे, बोला बोला सर. हाँ हाँ हाँ.
हेलो.
हाँ हेलो सर.
हेलो.
हाँ आपका वीडियो नहीं दिख रहा, आवाज आ रही है सर.
हेलो.
हाँ आ रही है सर आवाज.
हेलो. आ रही है क्लियर?
हाँ आवाज क्लियर आ रही है सर अभी.
बोलिए सर.
ओके ओके ओके.
हाँ सर.
हाँ. So
हाँ सर
can you hear
चालू
me now?
कीजिए सर, आवाज आ रही है आपकी.
Okay okay okay.
हाँ सर.
Okay. So sorry for the disturbances. This technology is new to all of us, and there are certain technical problems associated with this technology we are right now encountering, and I hope you will bear with me. But we'll start now right away. I was talking about the difficulties faced by the students when they go about doing their research work. Okay, so the prime difficulty of any student while doing research is where to start from and how to start. Okay, uh, there are all kinds of confusing ideas regarding this. Each person has a different opinion how the research should be done. So therefore, you get multiple kinds of definitions as to what research is and how it is to be handled, how it is to be done, and so on and so forth. So the net result of all these confusions is, in the end, you don't get to know properly how you should go about it. And in that state of confusion, if you continue doing your research, it is not going to be a standard work. It is not going to be a standard research. So therefore, it is very important for the students to understand what research is all about and how one should go about it. It's a huge topic actually. I mean, it's a very complex subject and we cannot deal it in few minutes or few hours. It requires a lot of debate, a lot of discussion. Nevertheless, we have some time at hand, okay, some half an hour or so, and I'll try my best based on what I have learned during all these years of service in the university, what research is and how I understand it. Okay, so the first thing is, you need to understand what research is not. I mean, while understanding anything which is difficult, which is complex, which is hard to go into, it is better to start with understanding what it is not. So, what we are going to do here is to understand what research is not. This is very important. So, the first thing here is research is not mere gathering of information. Okay, the first problem which the students face, okay, regarding the definition of research is they feel or they are made to feel that research is gathering lots of information and reproducing that information as it is. This is not the right way of approaching it. Of course, research is based on important information, but research is not just information. This is what you need to bear in mind. Okay, research is something else. So first, basically, the first thing that we need to understand is research is not just gathering lots of information and putting it as it is. Okay. Second, research is not asking the same question which somebody else has already asked. This is the second point which you have to bear in mind. Supposing you are doing research on the, say for example, government. Okay. Now, on the issue of government, so many people have done research, may have done research. They might have already dealt with the topic you are dealing with. So, in case you are repeating the topic somebody has already covered in his research, in his or her research work, then you are doing a redundant research. You are doing a useless research. So, the second thing you need to bear in mind is never repeat the thing which has already been done by somebody else. Never repeat it. Repeating is not research. Okay. People have done good work before you. You just go through that work, but you need to find out that what they have missed. We'll come back to this later. But let me tell you what research is not. So the first thing is not information gathering. Second thing, it is not asking the same question which somebody else has asked. Third important thing, research is not writing flowery language or writing a very beautiful language and thinking I have done a very good work. This is definitely not the research. In research, language is of course important, your expression is important, but extraordinary expression is not required. Most of the people, I mean students, think that if they write very beautiful language, and by beautiful I mean very difficult language, they feel they have done a good job and they feel they have done, I mean, a standard research. That is not the case. Okay, you need to understand that the language in the research is not research. Language is just a tool of expression. Research is something you are finding out. Okay, so it is better if you put all those things in a very simple and clear language. Using difficult language and thinking that you are adding to the research value is a wrong step. So this is the third thing. So research is always asking the right question and trying to find an answer to that question. Okay. Bear this in mind. Research is asking the right question and trying to find the answer to that question. It's very simple. Even if you don't find an answer to that question, it's still okay. But it is very important that you go about asking the right question. Right question is the heart and the soul of the research. If you are asking a very proper question, then you are doing a very good research. Your language, your style, your everything else becomes secondary. Got it? Okay. So having understood what research is not, we now, proceed to understand what research is. So once we have understood that this particular thing is not this, then it becomes easier for us to understand that what that particular thing is. So what is research after all? Research is, as I told you earlier, coming up with some new idea or asking a new question. Now, let me tell you, when I'm saying that research is asking a new question, it doesn't have to be a very big question. It can be a very small question. You can do research on a very small question, but the condition is that question has to be yours, not somebody else's. Okay, that question has not been asked. Make sure that question has not been asked earlier. If you are having such one of such questions, then you are on the right path. Second thing, you can say research is raising a problem that has no solution yet. There are so many problems. Of course, we, the students of social sciences, mostly deal with the social issue. Okay, now, in social issues, there are several problems. Okay, there are hundreds and thousands of the issues you can do your research on. Make sure that the issue you are raising, the problem you are raising, is a new one. Others have not worked on this problem. Or even if others have worked on this problem, the work is insufficient. There needs to be more work done on that. If you're convinced the problem is of this sort, then of course, that's a good research. So what is research? Research is nothing but finding some problem, asking a question about it which has not been previously asked, and trying to find an answer. Okay, this is what research is in simple words, 3. Now, once you have shown the reader what your problem is, you need to show that you want to find an answer to this. Over. The third thing, which is important in this context, is when you say you want to find an answer, people will ask you, how are you going to find an answer? What is your way of doing it? Okay, and we call this methodology. See, framing a question, trying to find an answer, showing how you are going to do it, you call it methodology. And finally, also showing readers how your research can help the people around you. How your research can help the people around you, and we call it social relevance. So this is, in nutshell, what research is all about. If I were to say it, I can put it in very few words. Locate a problem, try to find an answer, show how you are going to find an answer, and finally show how your research is important for the people around you. If you are doing these 4 things, I think you are a good researcher. It is pretty simple as that. But then why it doesn't happen that way? Why does the research look so complicated to us? Why we cannot write thesis the way, the masters have written their thesis? Why? Why we fail? The simple question is, we do not follow these steps. Okay? My personal experience is most of the students, when they go about doing their research, they start just collecting the information. They don't even care whether that information is useful to their purpose or not. They just collect the information and reproduce that information as it is. And they feel they have written a very good thesis. Okay? Their thesis might run into hundreds of pages also. But what is the use of those hundreds of pages if those pages are not yielding any fruitful results? So we need to be cautious about these things, that the kind of question we are asking is a proper question. The kind of answer we are trying to provide is following some methodology. Okay. And finally, we are clear about how this research is socially relevant. If you follow these 3 steps, believe me, you do not need anybody else to help you. Okay. You can easily go about it. Okay. Now, when I say, I come to the main topic of problem formulation, okay, or research question. When I say research is asking the right question, then the question comes is what is the right question? Okay, how do we ask the right question? Okay, right and wrong question is a very important point in this research. In this research, okay. So when I say that you need to ask a right question about the topic you are investigating, understand it that the right question does not come from sky. It does not come from nowhere. It doesn't come from any supernatural authority. The right question has to be located, has to be found. Okay. So how do you find the right question? I'll also give you some examples of how we find the right question. But then you have to understand this, that the topic you are dealing with must start with you asking a right question. Now, how do you ask the right question? Supposing you are doing a topic on problems of women in India. What is the right question? The question which has not been properly asked or has not at all been asked previously, that I have told you. So, for example, if I'm doing a research on problems of women in India and I start with the question that women are not equal to men, do you think this is the right question? It's an important question relating to gender equality. The people have done the work on this. Most of the people have written about this, how inequality exists between the men and women in the country. So I need not ask this question. Believe me, honestly, if I'm going to do research on the problems of women, I will not start with the question of inequality, because that question has already been answered. That question has already been dealt with in a comprehensive manner. I will try to find out something new which is affecting the women of today. So I will try to find a right question. I won't close my eyes and just repeat what others have done. If I am doing that, then I'm not doing a standard or a proper research. Okay. So this you have to bear in mind. You have to bear in mind that you have to raise an issue in the topic which has not received proper attention so far, adequate attention so far, and which still begs for the answer. This you have to bear in mind. If you just repeat what has already been done, okay, most of the students read, go into the literature and take the books related to their topic, and they just repeat the ideas which have already been dealt with by the other people. So this is just called copying and pasting. You know, plagiarism. Plagiarism is taking somebody else's ideas or taking somebody else's work and using it as your own. This is plagiarism. So, I mean, copying ideas is also plagiarism. You don't need to copy and paste to be a plagiarist. Okay. If you copy my ideas and even if you write in your own language, that again is a plagiarism, because the idea has to be yours as far as the research is concerned. So when this idea is not yours, the research is not yours. Okay, even if the language is yours, you have to understand. So you have to be very, very cautious while dealing with this research question, while locating this question. You know, I met a professor of Harvard University who had come to our place, to Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Marathwada University 1 year ago. And I discussed with him. I just wanted to know how the people in the #1 university of America, of the world, you can, Harvard University, how the people do research. I was just interested in knowing that. When I talked to him, he told me one very important thing. He said that we are very much, cautious, and we are very much focused on our research question. If my student comes to me saying, sir, I want to do the research on this topic, I discuss with him, he was telling me, I discuss with him the research question in detail. In such detail, now this is surprising, in such detail that it almost takes him more than 8 to 9 months to finalize the research question of the student. Harvard professor takes 7 to 8 months. Now, just imagine you are doing a research and you want to find, you want to just ascertain the research question, a main question of your research, and you are taking 7 to 8 months to discuss it with your supervisor. You have to convince your supervisor that the question you are asking is relevant question, is a useful question, and it takes 7 to 8 months in universities like Harvard. And what happens in our university? When we are framing the research question, supervisor hardly takes half an hour to finalize it. Or do you think it is going to be effective question? Do you think you can really finalize your research question in half an hour or 15? No, you cannot. You have to be focused on it. You have to understand your subject thoroughly. You have to understand all the dimensions of the topic you are studying, and then you have to find the question. So finding research question or the research problem is the most important and the most difficult exercise in the research work. Writing is not difficult. Field work is not difficult. Anything else is not difficult. The most difficult thing is to come to the right question. Okay. So how do you come to the right question? You come to the right question by trying to understand your subject very thoroughly. You will not find the right question unless you have read all the other questions related to it. You cannot locate a problem unless you are aware of all the problems that are affecting the subject. Okay. So in order to locate that, you have to have a very good understanding of the subject. Okay. Thorough understanding of it. Okay. Only then can you ask the right question. Okay. Suppose you want to ask a question about Mumbai. Okay. Just an example. You want to ask the right question about Mumbai. Can you do that sitting here in Aurangabad or somewhere else in Marathwada and asking a right question about Mumbai? No, you have to go to Mumbai. You have to see the lifestyle of the people in Mumbai. You have to understand its culture. You have to understand its politics. There are so many things. After you have understood Mumbai thoroughly, only then can you ask the right question about Mumbai. You cannot otherwise. So same goes with the research. You study the topic. Unless you study topic very thoroughly, you cannot frame a right question about it. You cannot locate the problem associated with that subject, with that issue. So what we do now, what the students do usually, while preparing a synopsis, okay, they select a topic, they have a very preliminary discussion with the supervisor. Okay, they finalize the topic and they start writing the synopsis without ever understanding what they are going to do in that topic. What is their question in that topic? Okay, they do not know the question. So whenever in the viva, okay, that take place in the university or elsewhere, I go as an expert. When I ask the student, what is your research problem, man? Tell me that. They are unable to answer me. You have done a research worth 300, 400, 500 pages. And you cannot just, explain to me what your research problem is, not then what kind of research have you done. This is a very logical question. Okay. Writing lots of pages again is not research. Take it from me. 200 pages is more than enough to explain your idea. Okay. Good research work is just 150 pages or between 150 and 200 pages. That is a good research. I have seen thesis of the students going into 800, 900 pages. And not a single line is worth. Believe me, everything is information. There is absolutely no analysis. So this asking a right question, okay, take it this way. Asking a right question is the heart and the soul of a research. Okay, if you don't have a right question in your research work, then no matter what you do, no matter how beautiful your language is, no matter how many pages you do, it is not going to be a standard or a good research. This is the fact. This is what I have learned from my own experience as a researcher. Okay? And a bad research is not going to help the society or the people around. What is the main purpose of the research? In social sciences at least. Of course, it is true of sciences also. The main purpose of the research is to benefit the society, is to help the people around, is to help them understand their situation better. This is what you are doing. You are not doing it just for the degree. You are not just doing it just for your fellowship. You are doing it as a contribution to society, contribution to your subject. So if research is not done properly, then neither it is a contribution to subject, not to the society, and it ends up as a wastage. So please avoid that thing. Okay, the research, doing research, PhD research or something like that is the last step in your career as a student, and be very sincere and honest about it. Okay, this is what I want to say. So I have been talking about this research question, and believe me, only research question is important. Everything else comes in its way. Okay, you need to focus, you need to understand, you need to frame the research question first. Okay, now you have understood what the importance of the research question. Now let me give you a practical example. How do we frame the research question? How do we find the research question? Please pay attention to this. This is very important. Okay. Say, for example, this is just an example. Supposing we are doing a research on the problems of farmers. You see, farmers are facing lots of issues. They are also, I mean, nowadays protesting against new farm laws and so on and so forth. And farmers have been facing these issues from a pretty long time. And one of the fallouts, I mean, one of the results of these problems is, I mean, spate of farmer suicide over last few decades. Most of the farmers are killing themselves. They have multiple problems. And supposing you find this topic relevant, you find this topic important, you start doing problems of farmers in Maharashtra. Say, for example, farmer suicides in Maharashtra. Supposing this is your topic. So we have chosen the topic. It is problems of farmers and farmer suicide in Maharashtra, something like that. And we go about framing our research question. So what kind of question comes to your mind? How will you frame a research question? I mean, in this context. You are online. I mean, we are online, so therefore I cannot take your response. Had you been in the classroom, I mean, had we been discussing these issues in the classroom, then I would have taken your individual responses. How would you have framed a question on the issue of farmers in Maharashtra? Okay, but let me tell you now. Supposing we are doing research on farmer suicide, as I told you, and supposing we frame a question like, is farmer suicide a bad thing? Suppose my question is farmer suicide a bad thing? Now, is it a right question? Is it a right question? Is farmer suicide a bad thing? It's a good question. Of course, it's a good question, but is it a right question? That's what I'm asking. No, it's not. Because when you ask such a question, is farmer suicide a bad thing? Everybody is going to say, yes, it is a bad thing. It's not a good thing. Who will say that farmer suicide is a good thing? So this is not the right question that you need to ask regarding the farmer suicide. Then what can we ask? Think about it. Okay. What can we ask? How can we frame a question that will define the situation of farmers in Maharashtra, and that will create a new way or open a new avenue for the research work? How can we frame such a question? How can we ask such a question? So one question that comes to my mind is, are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? Supposing I ask, are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? Now this is the question. क्या फार्मर्स इसलिए आत्महत्या कर रहे हैं कि वो गरीब है? क्या वही एक कारण है उनकी आत्महत्या? Okay, so now this question, you just try to understand the distinguish between these two questions. One is farmer suicide bad? That's, I mean, not a right question. And second is, are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? Means this question, are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor, raises so many possibilities. Okay, and begs for so many answers. Here we are asking whether poverty alone is responsible for the suicides of farmers, or there is something else also. And once you say, no, it is not just poverty, there are multiple factors, it opens a way for the research. Then you have to find out the fact. So ask a question that opens the possibility. Are you getting it? I'm giving you a practical example. Of course, Not everybody is going to do research on the farmers, and not everybody is going to ask. But I'm just giving you an example how the question should be effective and proper, and it should look right. Okay. So I ask, are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? Then you may say, I don't know. I thought मैं तो यही सोचता था अभी तक कि वो गरीबी के कारण मरते हैं. लेकिन there are so many other factors. Could be. So please tell us what those factors are. And then the research work starts. Try to understand this. I hope you're getting what I mean to say. Okay. So are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor, or there is something else? We can frame this, okay, we can refine this further and ask, is economy the only factor behind the disrupting sociology of the farmers? This is more technical. Okay, so you go on developing your research question, go on refining it, go on making it better. And the better you make, the more effective it looks, and more effectively it works in your research. Now remember one thing, research question is not related, okay, is not confined to a small space. It is not that you have asked a research question and everything is over. It's not like that. Research question begins from the very first page of your thesis and goes all the way up to the last. So this question will keep coming and you will keep discussing it in the various contexts. So this question is very, very important. And this question, without asking a proper research question, I don't think you can do any research. Okay. So the entire focus of your research work is your research work. Now, I hope you understand how important this is. And I also hope you understand that how you should go about framing it. Doesn't matter if it takes time. Doesn't matter if it takes 2 months, 3 months. But unless you locate that question properly, you are not going to touch your research work. You are not going to take your pen to the paper. Okay, this is as important as that. So I was telling you that if I ask, is economy the only factor behind the disrupting sociology of the farmer, I am opening a way. I am opening several doors at the same time. I am saying that while poverty may be, or it may look responsible for the issues of the farmer, it is not just about poverty. It is about so many other things. It is about the society. It is about the governance. It is about the system. It is about the laws, and so on and so forth. Okay. So farmer is not killing himself just because he's poor. Okay. Because I can give the reason, means in my research work, if I do this, I can ask, if poverty is the main cause of farmer suicide, why the farmers did not kill themselves in the previous era? I mean, in 1970, farmers were not rich. They were poor even then, but they did not kill themselves. They did not commit suicide. Why? Why are they doing right now? So there must be something else, something different from poverty. Okay. And it could be any other factor. And that factor you have to find out, you have to investigate, and that is your research. So this is how you should proceed, as far as I understand, in your research work. And this is pretty simple, I tell you. It's not very difficult to do a research of this kind. We call it analytical research. But it's very simple, actually. It is simple in a way that if you locate a very proper question, then you will try to find an answer to it, and that is all. Okay. The way you are trying to find an answer is your research. It is possible that you may not find an answer. Okay, even that is a good research. See, research is not about answering, it is about questioning. Okay, it is about the question, never about the answer. You may or you may not get the answer. There are so many scientists who do lots of experiments, they never get the answer. But that doesn't mean their experiments are useless. That doesn't mean those experiments are irrelevant. So in that case, in the case of doing research, the most important thing is asking the question. And Bertrand Russell, a famous philosopher of 20th century, one of the greatest philosophers of the 20th century, has said that it is far more important to ask right question than provide the right answer. So right question is a very important thing. It's a must in research. I hope you have got the idea by now. Okay. And once you have asked the right question, okay, and have shown how you are going to go about it, the next step that comes is the hypothesis. Now, hypothesis is what? Most of the students do not understand the meaning of hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but a preliminary answer to your research question. You have asked a research question. What research question have we asked regarding the problems of farmer in Maharashtra? Are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? We have asked this question. Now, we will provide us some hypothetical answers. We don't know. We have not done the work on that. We'll do the work on that. But before doing work, some preliminary answers come to our mind regarding this question. What are those? Are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? I might say, yes. Farmers are killing themselves just because they are poor. This is one answer. I might say, no. Farmers are not killing themselves just because they are poor. There are certain other factors also. This is second answer. Third answer is, maybe, I don't know, they might be killing themselves because they are poor, or there could be some other reason. This is the third answer. And these three answers are your hypothesis. Okay. What are these three answers? They are your hypothesis. So hypothesis is a very simple exercise. It is answering the research question. So one thing is here certain, that if hypothesis is answering the research question, I mean providing a preliminary answer to a research question, you cannot write hypothesis without a research question. Of course, you cannot write answer without a question. So if you don't have a question, you don't have an answer. So how can you write hypothesis if your research question is not clear? This is an issue. But I have seen that most of the students do not talk about research question, but they write hypothesis. How is it possible? Tell me. Can you really frame a hypothesis without a question? Can you really frame answers without a question? No. So unless you have a question, you cannot have the answer. Hypothesis is answer to a research question, and it's a preliminary answer. It is not a final answer. It is going to be proved at the end of the day when you finish your research. Got it? So this is how it is. So hypothesis is your preliminary answer to your research question. Maybe okay, may not be okay. At the end of the research work, you might find that your hypothesis is proved or disproved. It doesn't matter. If it is proved, okay. If it is not proved, again, okay. The point is, you asked the right question, you provided preliminary answer called hypothesis, and you went about finding the solution, and you find some solution. You did not prove your hypothesis, it is okay. I thought that farmers were killing themselves just because of poverty. That was my hypothesis. But at the end of research, I find that this is not the case. There are certain other factors. So my hypothesis is disproved. And it is a good research work. Even if hypothesis is disproved, your tentative answer is disproved, it's okay. Because after all, that was a tentative answer. That was not the final answer to a research question. Understand? So this is what hypothesis is. And when you say, are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? If you say yes, it is called directional hypothesis because it goes in the positive direction. Yes. If you say no, then it is again a directional hypothesis, goes in the negative direction. And if you say maybe, I don't know, maybe they could be, then it's a non-directional hypothesis. It goes into the both direction, yes and no. Okay. So my suggestion to you is always use this. Try to use this non-directional hypothesis, in which the tentative answer is not clear. Because see, it is very difficult for us, I mean the students of the social sciences, to know the proper answer. Scientists can know it. Scientists can frame, I mean, directional hypothesis because they have results before them of the previous done by the previous people previously on the topic. Okay, they can have some concrete results, but we in social sciences do not have those concrete results. So it is better if we go in a non-directional way in framing our hypothesis. So this is related to hypothesis. And the last point which I want to mention here is a review of literature. Now, how do you go about reviewing the literature? It is an important part. Most of the, I mean, when your thesis goes before the committee, the research committee, the first thing that they see is research question, and the very next thing that they see is the review of literature. How have you reviewed the literature? So how do you go about reviewing the literature? See, in any field, no matter what field you work on, the literature is huge. There are lots of books and articles and all those on that topic. Take for example, the farmer suicide. Now, if you look into the literature on farmer suicide, it's so huge that it will require you ages to study and understand. Should you read the entire thing? Should you read everything in the literature? No, it's not possible. And even if it is possible, it's not desirable. You should not. Okay? Then what should you read? And what should you review as literature? You should read what is important to your research work. See, we have asked, are farmers killing themselves just because they are poor? So we should read the literature relating to poverty and other factors of the farmers. Okay. You should concentrate, you should sort out, okay, the material which is relevant to your research question and read that fast. Okay. You should, you should not delve into the sea. If you want water, you don't go to the sea. Do you go to sea to fetch the water? No. Okay. You go to your tap and take as much water as you want and then close the tap. This is what you do. So this is the same thing, the same principle, the same logic has to work while reviewing the literature. You have to find out in the literature. Literature is the huge sea. It has everything. But you need to find out your own thing, pick it up and use it. Are you following? If you go about studying anything relating to topic, you will never come to a proper conclusion and you will be lost in the maze. Okay? Okay, you won't be able to understand what you are doing yourself. And while reviewing the literature, you are not going to show the relevant things to the reader. You will show all kinds of irrelevant things and that becomes boring and that also becomes useless. So, as I told you, when you need water, never go to sea. Okay, go to the tap. So, go to the tap, take few books which are important to your topic, read them, understand them, and review them. This is how you do your review of literature, as far as I know. Okay, review of literature is not writing the entire history of that subject. That would be a useless thing. Okay, review of literature is focusing on the work previously done by the people, relating which comes close to your topic, which comes close to the topic you have chosen. Remember this. Okay, in as far as farmer society is concerned, it's a huge topic. We are not going to deal with all aspects of farmers. We are going to deal with certain aspects of the farmers. So, what are the books? What is the material available on those aspects on which I am doing my work, and I will focus only on those books and. Got it? So this is how it has to be done. Okay. I think we should stop here. Okay. There's so many things to say on this, but constraints of time will not allow us to go more into the greater detail of this topic. So what I wanted to do was to give you a very skeletal idea of what research is, giving you some practical examples. Okay, from the research work which I have done previously. So I think this can serve as, as a starting point, as a start gate for you guys. The students who are currently into the research work. Okay, so I'll just summarize it in 2 minutes and come to the end of this session. To summarize, the most important thing relating to research is the research question. And the research question doesn't come from blue. You have to understand, you have to frame it properly. In order to frame a right research question, you need to understand your subject very thoroughly. Okay, you need to understand your subject well. Okay, and also discuss with your supervisor in greater detail what you are going to do about and how you are going to frame that research question. That done, you will then show how you are going to find the answer, and you will give some preliminary answer. Okay. And the preliminary answer is nothing but your hypothesis. And in order to show that your research question is relevant for your subject and for the society, you will go to the literature and you will show what kind of work was done in the literature and you will do the review of literature. The review of literature is meant to pinpoint the relevance of your research. Okay. Relevance of your research question comes out clearly only after you have shown the proper things in the literature which have been previously done. Okay, you cannot frame a research question which was never attempted by anybody in the world. You cannot do that. You have to follow it. You have to make a research question which has relevance to the society and which has the support in the literature. Means previously people have dealt with it. They might not have dealt with it the way you are doing it, but they have dealt with it and they have found certain answers which could be useful to your research work. So this is how, you can proceed in regard to your research work. There are lots of things. This is very preliminary. Don't think I have given you lots of ideas. Very, basic things which I have talked with you. Hopefully, when we start offline classes and you come to the university, then we can discuss, of course, these things in person. And I'm happy that all of you have listened to me. All of you have listened to me without, given me this opportunity, and I have actually tolerated all these things, these technical hitches and all those difficulties which we encounter in doing these online sessions. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Gundre Madam, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And after that, within some minutes, another second will be start. And there is a resource person from Andhra Pradesh. He is also very well-known person and academician. And also his title is very new for researchers and scholars also. His topic is related to research, but it is a new for us, and its title name is research design. Research design is very important, as well as research methodology. And so now may I request to Professor S. Teki sir. He is from Andhra Pradesh, Adikavi Nanaya University, Andhra Pradesh. He is a faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. Now may I request to Professor Dr. S. Teki sir. Please unmute and start your lecture. Dr. Teki sir. Dr. Teki sir, please unmute yourself. Hello. Hello. Hello, Teki sir. Please unmute yourself. Hello. I think there is a technical problem. It will be clear within some minutes. So please wait. Hello, audience. Teki sir is in the meeting and he will join after 10 minutes. Hello. If there is a question regarding to formulation of research methodology, which we have. It is my request to all the audience, please don't leave from this webinar. He will come within few minutes. He is in the meeting. in the university, and that's why there is a delay.
गुड मॉर्निंग, नमस्कार. शुरू करूँ का?
Hi. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
हाँ,
sir. We are waiting for
एक
you,
मिनट
sir.
में इयरफोन घेतो. नमस्कार.
तुम्हाला पण बेस्ट जॉईन झाला
हॅलो,
हा,
सुरू करायचं बरं का?
yes,
आवाज
sir,
येत आहे
yes,
ना?
yes, sir,
माझ्यावर.
yes, sir.
हा, नमस्कार सर्वांना. मी प्रोफेसर टेकी, प्रोफेसर आणि प्रिन्सिपल, युनिव्हर्सिटी कॉलेज ऑफ कॉमर्स अँड मॅनेजमेंट स्टडीज, आदिकविनंद युनिव्हर्सिटी, आंध्र प्रदेश आहे. मी मराठी बोलतो. मी उत्तर महाराष्ट्र विद्यापीठमध्ये म्हणजे MBA केलेला, नंतर पुणे युनिव्हर्सिटी PhD आणि उत्तर महाराष्ट्र विद्यापीठमध्ये 5 वर्ष असिस्टंट प्रोफेसर म्हणून काम केलेलं आहे. बरं, मी रिसर्च डिझाईन म्हणून सेशन मी मला शेअर करतो. थांबा बरं का, या ठीक आहे. दिसतंय ना साहेब? बरं का? हॅलो.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
म्हणजे सेशन रिसर्च डिझाईन म्हणून मी तयारी केलेला आहे. या, सो आय विल जस्ट बिगिन फर्स्ट. दिस इज द सेमिनार ऑन, म्हणजे अंग्रेजी मराठी चालेल की मिक्स चलता है ना? अंग्रेजीमध्ये बोलूं का? हॅलो.
हाँ, मिक्स चलने दो
Oh,
सर.
ठीक है,
English
ठीक.
और
Maybe there are some other Maharashtrians also, no? So I'll just speak English. Yeah, this topic, why, as you could see the research, what is it all about? We, in simple terms, the term itself indicates and searching again and again for some solution to address an established problem through a scientific investigation, what we call it as research, and which has a systematic process that we call a methodology. Within the methodology framework, you have a research design to carry out to find out. Initially, the basic aim of research is to, as it is envisaged, to find out the solution for an established problem, or find out a betterment of an existing system. These are twofold basic objective of any research which we have been doing, let it be in commerce, management, arts, science, engineering, wherever you go. These are the objectives. Either the research is aimed at solving an established problem, or improving or and inventing a new system for the improvement of the existing system, right? So as we say, the systematic investigating process employs to increase or revise current knowledge by discovering new facts. It is divided into two general categories. That is what we call basic research, is inquired aimed at increasing the scientific knowledge, and applied research, an effort aimed at using basic research for solving problems or developing new processes. This is, yeah, the process within that. Though it is not hard and fast, one has to follow the defined process, but this is a process within the research design which I evolved myself to, to educate my research scholars, my faculty colleagues, and appreciate myself. The first step in the process is what we call it as an identification of a research problem. And these are common words which we ask the researcher, we explained, and a problem. Quite often use this term very frequently by all different cross sections of the society, maybe literate to highly literate to illiterate to highly literate, whatever you call it as. But what is it all about? If you can just appreciate for 30 seconds what you call it as. According to my mind and to me, the problem is an imbalance in the human mind that creates some unrest. You know, human mind is like a balance, a weighing scale, which has two sides. When one side goes up one side, there's an imbalance. To balance it, we will make some adjustment, some addition, some deletion, then there's a balance. Once the mind is balanced, it doesn't stop here because it's a dynamic process. Immediately, something else, some other problem will crop up. So this is how a system, a society, a nation, a human individual keep on doing. So first of all, in a research process or in research design, identify what is your problem and define it. Well-defined problem is off solved. Most of the time, the problem definition itself is a problem. No, I mean, you don't define a problem most accurately or appropriately. Yeah. A well-defined problem solves problem in an effective way. Ill-defined problem multiplies what you call it as a more problem. No. Somebody said, a common problem like I'm feeling angry. So it's a problem. What is it? So to balance, to solve it, what do you call it as? You can take a cup of water, cup of tea, a full meal, a snack, whatever it may be. But depends on the level of hungry. You have to see that, you have to say that you're feeling more hungry, less hungry. Is it sufficient to have a spare meal, or just is it sufficient to have a snack or one tea or one water? When you need a little snack, and if you say your problem is for full meal, then that problem doesn't solve. It will multiply. That is where any research process, any researcher wants to take up a doctoral research or otherwise research for a project or for a societal, for a nation or an economic. So always be sure and be assured. The first step, what is it called? What you wanted to investigate, what you wanted to find out through this particular research program. So for that, to be more sure, it's always look back and look ahead. Look at what has been done earlier. The similar kind of problems comes up or in the same area of research. What you call it as a review of literature. People say whether review of literature comes first or problem defense comes. This is all debatable. There's no hard and fast. Somebody studies the existing literature and find out the gap and say then this is a gap and this is a problem kind of this thing. But somebody hypothetically propose the problem and see that whether is the problem exists in the world to going through the earlier research or records, whatever. What you call it as, I say it is a literature review through which you can do that. Specifying the purpose of research, yes, you have to be very sure. Research should be always aimed at solving an established problem or generating a new knowledge, discovering something, innovating something, so that the bottom line of a research is to ensure the welfare of the society, welfare of the nations, welfare of the states, welfare of the human being. Ultimately, whatever efforts one commit as a researcher, it's all, the bottom line is that. Then you have determined the specific research questions and the questions to be sequenced properly. What you wanted to, in the problem itself, what are the questions you can pose and what exactly you want answers. Some of the researchers find it difficult to pose specific questions, or some fail the sequencing of questions to fail. Sarcastically it is said some researcher was going to conduct a survey and is asking some demographical demographic information from a respondent. So he asked, what is a lady respondent? What is your name? She said so and so, Miss so and so. And then second question, he said, I mean, what is it called? Are you do you have children? She said, yes, two. Then the third question he asked, did you marry? So she is annoyed. So then she goes to other respondent. Now somehow is appreciated. Okay, now the sequence is changed. She asked, what is your name? She said the name. Then he said, did you marry? No question, sequence has changed. She said no. Then immediately the other question which he asked, how many children do you have? And again here also he got it. So that is what, to avoid such kind of unpleasant situations when you sequencing questions or even designing the questions to be asked in the investigation and the research process, you need to be sure of. And specification of the conceptual framework, which you define what are the concepts, what are the variables you're going to take up, and if you have any sample sample of the respondents, what is the sampling technique you are going to use, what is your population, what is universe, and in the universe you have a population. Are you going for a census mode or are you going for a sampling? Everything you need to define within the research design framework as a conceptual. And set an hypothesis. Most of this common man term, most of the time, very loosely used the term what is hypothesis or what is it, all this stuff. In mind, hypothesis is tentative or a proposed answer for an established problem. And through, as soon as the problem is there, and if a road accident takes place, people will immediately rush number of people and give different, answers. So the cycle wala is right, or the cardi wala is wrong, or four-wheeler is wrong. This is all as soon as one looks at a particular problem, an instant solution, an answer comes to the human mind. What we call it as that is an hypothetical proposed answer, which may be true, may not be true. So what you call it as a researcher, you had a problem, you defined it very specifically, you also said the purpose for which you wanted to do. And the problem creator always, most of the times, knows the better solution, because the problem comes from that's what the problem and solution, two sides of the coin. I keep on saying, there's no solution without problem, there's no problem without solution. So therefore, when we are proposing, what is it called, the hypothesis, we have set up proposed answer for each question you frame in the research design. And whatever you think, this is the likely solution for that particular defined problem. So hypothetically, you propose it, what you call it as an hypothesis. And later on, you can go to the defined population through a defined sampling framework and test whether are they in agreement with what you have proposed or disagreement. What you call a process proven or not proven. All these things you come up with this. Then you have other, as a thing, next, choice of methodology for data collection. We have both primary and secondary data, and when you are collecting a primary data, be sure about defining the problem universe. Within the universe, it's always 100%. You cannot reach out. So therefore, is a 5%, 10%. You cannot. So universe minus unaccessibility, what you call it as a population. Define your population. and if it is through a sampling, so you have a probability sampling, non-sampling. That maybe somebody will be discussing that. So plan for data collection, both primary data and secondary data, or when you go to field to collect the to raise the primary data from the defined population. So I keep on, for the last 25 years, I've been a researcher in one thing, the poverty reduction and microfinance and women empowerment. So lot of primary data I gather or collect every time I take up any research, especially that poverty reduction. Also, my target group is very specified, the forest dwelling or forest living communities, mostly the tribal all over the world. When I was at Indian Institute of Forest Management, Bhopal, long time ago, from 98 to 2003. Almost 15 days in a month, I used to in the field to collect data. Most of the data from the forest living communities on the local available resources like non-wood forest products we call, and through value additions and enhancing the income levels. So that, what is it called? I used to do that, this thing. So the data collection plan and the data definition should be approval. Sorry. Sorry. So data collection, yeah. So analyzing and interpreting the data. Once you collected the data, then the analysis part also takes care using these statistical tools. Now, though you have a lot of packages like SPSS and all more advanced things. So one, as a researcher, you need to have that skill also to utilize the data. Data collection is just one part of it. Most of the researchers fail or fail to utilize the 100% or the maximum data that has been collected. And you see that the data needs to be properly. And then once data is analyzed and made it as, you have a, what is it called, a report writing and the evaluation of the research, which is most crucial part of any research part, because you started your voyage with the definition of the problem, you developed the research design, you collected secondary data, primary data, and you tabulated, analyzed, and made inferences. And all those inferences and all the tested hypothesis and all these things should be articulated in a research user-friendly manner. So reporting is what the output you are going to communicate to the targeted target stakeholders and also the other relevant stakeholders. So then communicating the research findings possibly to the recommendations. And if it is a consultancy research, of course, we submit to the client to whom it has given. If it is not general research, we have ways to communicate through an extension, through a journal, through a newspaper, through even now social medias, you have it. Most of the research, especially PhD research, is just confining to university libraries. The most important, though most universities make this as a mandate to publish 2 or 3 papers, but still it's a long way, even voluntarily also. Each and every piece of the information under the research which you find out is generated should be reaching the target beneficiary for the ultimate benefit of this thing. Right. Then I just indicated after discussing on the word, let's not do research for the sake of research. Most of the research, I keep receiving a lot of PhD theses on ratio analysis, on what is it called, morale, motivation, working capital, and why not and what not, and very routine kind of research. Something you do which benefits, which makes some change, some difference on the society, makes some positive impact. Somebody, some problem is solved. Some group of community, specific community, a group of communities are benefited through your research kind of this. So the broad areas which have, especially these list are referring to the, what is it called, commerce, management, and also economics. And now interdisciplinary is the buzzword, and anybody and everybody can do this kind of this thing. And after all, management is a universal, whether it is even in a science or a technology. Ultimately, alpha omega, in the sense you need finance to begin any research effort. So therefore, the management and commerce faculty should be there. And end output, if you have generated any solution, patent, even a particular technology, that again you need a management man and commerce man to sell it and to take it to the research. So therefore, what the broad areas of research which are emerging, all the my faculty colleagues and researchers take a note of it and guide or advise when the scholars approach, or when you prepare your own proposal for funding to different agencies, national and global or multilateral agencies. These are, much needed research broad areas into this, right? You have inclusive growth and the financial inclusion and microfinance. We had a 5-year plan for a long time, and the no 5-year plan dealt with successfully for one aspect. But this is the last true 5-year plan. Up now, of course, now you have a Niti Aayog and other things. Now, no longer planning commission and other things. But last two 5-year plans dealt with the one thing, that is what is called the inclusive growth and the more inclusive growth. Because India's economy and GDP has been growing and we are developing, but it is a very imbalanced and unequal growth. I mean, to say 10% of the population accounting for the 90% of the wealth and 90% of the population accounting for 10% of the wealth or the fruits. Let it be anywhere, it is a materialistic wealth otherwise. So 10% of the population accounts for the 90% of the fruits of any growth, and 90% only satisfied with only 10% of the return which they get it. So of course, in the short term, it's okay, fine, till time. But in long term, the people who are having 90% population account for only 10%, dissatisfaction, disgruntlement takes place, and there is what is it called, the sustainable economic growth cannot be achieved unless the inclusive growth takes place. The development fruit, the economic growth fruit should be should be benefiting each and every income group appropriately, so that this kind of disparity, inequality, what do we call it as inclusive growth, financial inclusion, and microfinance. Till last for 10 years or 15 years, I mean, until the Jan Dhan had come in a big way in 2014, most of the Indian households were deprived of a bank financial services, a bank account for saving, or even for a credit or a loan purpose. But as Nobel laureate and economist Professor Amartya Sen's long time ago said, if you want to free your nation from the poverty, you need to have 3 things in mind. One is what is it called? Health services accessibility, financial services accessibility, and educational services, etc. So these, unless these all three basic services are accessible at an affordable price widely to the all people, the economic growth really, the fruits of the economic growth, and we cannot attain a status of developed economy. India is a nation, Bharat Mahan hai, but फिर भी अभी भी क्या developing country जैसा ही रह गया, क्योंकि because of exclusive growth. So that what we call it as there's a lot of scope for taking up research in the inclusive growth and financial. Then you have rural marketing, agriculture marketing, specific sectors. Rural marketing, when we say loosely, a lot of research and a lot of projects have been done, but within that you have, very less research has been done in these areas like coconut growers, fisheries, fire industry, nursery. These are the when you say agriculture, it only we take up rice, wheat, then grams, sugarcane, banana, all those things could be on groundnut. Those are major crops, but these are niche areas or even areas where we also have enough problems to find out different solutions. Then you have services marketing, financial service, and health service. Now, our economy is driven and dominated by service sector. More than close to 60% or even more than 60% of our GDP is accounting from the services from a product-driven economy. So there's a lot of scope for financial services marketing to take it up. Then we have poverty reduction and livelihoods. We keep saying poverty can only be reduced by enhancing the income generating activities, not giving freebies to the people. I mean, too simple to say it as teach our children how to catch the fish as and when they need. But do not give fish as and when they need. You enable them to catch fish on their own. Not if they are needed for money. Create an opportunity where they earn and earn money and obtain their need like that. So as a government, as a society, now almost all state governments and even union government has a lot of freebies, subventions, subsidies. You give it, but for an asset creation, for a micro enterprise, real substantial effective generation, so that a day the poverty reduction sees a day when the livelihoods or the income generating activities are enhanced. Not giving, I tell a simple example of how the tribal forest living communities income can be enhanced. The Dona Pattal, like, the leaves of Sauria robusta, I mean, the rosewood or the bark, where we get leaf plates and cups making. I made a cost benefit analysis through using my cost sheet and other things, where a forest dwelling community or a household always 1 kg leaves of leaf, 1 kg पत्तियां जंगल से लाता है कि वो पत्तियां without valuation अगर बेच दिया तो say वो they get only 10 rupees per kilo of the leaves, green leaves they get it from the forest. But when those leaves are joined and made a leaf fly with the small bamboo nails also, so that the 1 kg 20 leaves can be made. So as a leaf could be sold at a rate of 2 rupees, 20 into 2, 40 rupees. That means when they are getting 10 rupees a year for the same quantity of one kg raw leaves, patya. So when they make it little value addition, their income has gone up by 3/4. Further, if they're assisted with a small technology called compressor machine to make an edge or patya. So the more benefit you get it. So as a government, as a society, as a well-wisher, as a researcher, this should be our focus. Poverty reduction should be there, but that cannot be achieved through only offering freebies, free loans, or a lot of subsidies or subventions. You do in an what is it called, appropriate way, and focus on the income generating activity. Then you have social capital and event management, and these are the mother areas. You do have now social responsibility as a mandatory for limited companies that have more than 5 crores as a net profit and other thing. Then you have getting my time signal because it's a webinar, you cannot run on additional time. So you have other areas like you have a BPO and KPO, what you call it as business process outsourcing, knowledge process outsourcing, green development, because green GDP, that to enhance the GDP, we are, we are making this thing, we are destroying some of the natural resources. So you appropriately account it and see the real addition to the GDP. That way. Then you have a sustainable development. Any distraction or any effort one makes to deploy future generation from the natural resource consumption, or a development in the place of destroying the existing development, what you call it as unsustainable. So the sustainable development we need. We have value chain and supply chain management, working capital management. These are again these two, working capital and financial analysis. A lot of has been done. E-commerce, M-commerce, you can take it up. Right. Yeah, carbon financing and climate change is again an innovative area which is coming up. Gender inequity and gender budget, issues and challenges of tourism and hospitality, role of education and health on socio-economic development, extremism, impact of media on human values and ethics. These are the areas which are listed to take up different research projects. So the proposal of a research project, you have the title and a review of literature, and you have need of the study, objectives of the study, and all these things you can do that. And the tentative and standard chapterization scheme, which is 5 chapters, is what globally is proposed. Chapter 1 introduction, chapter 2 review of literature, chapter 3 research methodology, chapter 4 result and discussion, chapter 5 conclusions and recommendation. These are a standard framework that is emerging in the to researchers and research community. Thank you very much for giving opportunity. I hope I could deliver to limited extent what I'm saying. Thank you very much, sir. Hello.
हाँ बोलिए सर.
Sir, I'm complete. I'm through. Now you can.
Hello.
Yeah, my talk is over, I said.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have delivered very nicely.
Okay.
And it is also useful to all the faculty members and research scholars also. Once again, thank you, Teki sir.
Thank you.
You have given much more time to us.
Right.
And also you have agreed with our invitation letter. Very much thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, this second session is over. And now may I request to Principal Dr. Gundre Madam, sir, for the presidential speech. Dr. Gundre, Madam, sir.
सर यावं ना इथं जरा.
Huh?
MSP मंडळ MSP मंडळ यशवंतराव चव्हाण आर्ट्स कॉमर्स अँड सायन्स कॉलेज अंबाजोगाई. One day online national webinar on research methodology in social sciences, organized by Research Center of Political Science and Economics, Yeshwantrao Chauhan College, Ambazogai. This webinar's resource person, Professor Dr. Suja Shakir, Head Department of Political Science, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University. And second resource person, Professor Dr. S. Teki, Faculty of Commerce and Management Science, Narayan University, Andhra Pradesh. यशवंतराव चव्हाण महाविद्यालयाच्या वतीने आयोजित ऑनलाईन नॅशनल वेबिनारच्या करिता मार्गदर्शक म्हणून प्रोफेसर सुजा शाकीर यांनी फॉर्म्युलेशन ऑफ रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम या विषयावर सरांनी अत्यंत सखोल आणि अत्यंत इन्फॉर्मेटिव्ह अशी इन्फॉर्मेशन दिलेली आहे. त्याचबरोबर रिसर्चच्या संदर्भामध्ये सोशल सायन्सेस मध्ये येणारे प्रश्न आणि ते प्रश्न कसे सोडवले पाहिजेत या संबंधीचं मार्गदर्शन सुजा शाकीर सरांनी त्यांच्या या व्याख्यानातून या ठिकाणी केले. त्याचबरोबर डॉक्टर एस टेक्की या सरांनी रिसर्चच्या संदर्भामध्ये त्यांनी अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण असं मार्गदर्शन या ठिकाणी त्यांनी केलेले. रिसर्च सरांचा विषय रिसर्च डिझाईन च्या संदर्भामध्ये सरांनी या ठिकाणी मार्गदर्शन केलं. दोन्हीही रिसोर्स पर्सननी या वेबिनारसाठी आपला अत्यंत महत्वाचा वेळ या ठिकाणी दिला आणि सर्वांना रिसर्चच्या संदर्भामध्ये येणाऱ्या अडचणी, रिसर्च कसं असलं पाहिजे, समाजासाठी असणारं रिसर्च कसं उपयोगी असावं आणि ते कशा प्रमाणामध्ये आपण रिसर्चचे प्रश्न सोडवले पाहिजे या संबंधी मार्गदर्शन केलं. त्याबद्दल सुजा शाकीर सर आणि टेक्की सरांचे मी महाविद्यालयाच्या वतीने हार्दिक आभार मानते आणि या ठिकाणी माझा अध्यक्षी समारोपाला मी विराम देते. जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र. काय बोला सर असं प्रश्न येतो बघा.
Thank you, madam. Now this is the last formality of vote of thanks and
काय बोला अचानक असा प्रश्न येतो बघा. नाही थोडं बोललं पाहिजे होतं पण आता सर
of all delegates, participants,
झाला पण
other students also. MSP Mandals, Yeshwantrao Chauhan College has organized a one-day online webinar on research methodology in social sciences. And for this research methodology in social science, there were two resource persons. They are from, one is from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, Aurangabad, Dr. Suja Shakir sir. He has delivered very nicely and very actively. So I am thankful to Dr. Suja Shakir sir. And in next session, there was Dr. S. Teki sir from Andhra Pradesh. He has also delivered very nicely and very friendly to us. He has given much more time to us. That's so that I am very thankful to in behalf of my college and research center. Even I am also thankful to Principal Dr. Gudreman. She has motivated our teachers to organize such faculty development programs and also such kind of activities which is useful for the students. So I am thankful to her also. Another person, he is a coordinator of economics of Research Center, Yeshwantrao Chauhan College, Ambezogai, Dr. Dharmaraj Tanduljekar sir. He has organized such kind of activity in this college, so I am thankful to him. Another personality, coordinator political science, Dr. Tandale sir. He is also coordinator of research center of Yeshwantrao Chauhan College, Ambezogai. So I am also thankful to him. Vice principal of this college, Dr. Ramesh G. Shinde sir. He has given his time and valuable guidance to all of us, so that I am also thankful to him. And also I am thankful to Dr. Raj Panke sir. He is IQSC coordinator. He is also motivates us and also encourage us to organize such type of activities. So I am also thankful to him. Also, I am thankful to all the participants, guests, research scholars, and students also. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I am now declare here the session is over. The online webinar is also over. And in few minutes, your feedback form link will be provided to you on our website. What is this? WhatsApp group, and you will fill it up, and then after that you will get your certificates. Thank